we go. Here we go. Good evening. Welcome to, oh heck, Molten Chat. Sorry. My Surface turns itself off. Oh, good evening. How are we doing? It's warming up in here now. I might start taking my scarf off and bits and pieces sometime soon, but I hope you are well and good. Out there, this is the first time we've got together since we did our end of year roundup with Steve in the middle of December sometime. So it's great. Volume's a bit low, is it? Oh, hang on. Let me bring this fella in a little bit. 1, 2, 1. Can I see that over there? Not very easily. Hang on, have I got this the right way around? 1, 2. Give me a second. Give me a second. One, two, that looks better. Yeah, see that pad switch isn't the one that you want to have on, is it? That's looking healthier over there. Is that looking better? Subtitles. Oh, subtitles. Okay, well, I hope that's better. Let me know if that's not. I mean, otherwise, it's a shame, really, because those first couple of sentences were pure gold. Pure gold. Hello, Mr. Pumpkin. What sort of thing do I talk about? Well, it varies enormously. I mean, the idea, if you've never been to one of these before, is simply to talk about the Molten Monthly video, really, the new products and new stuff. However, what we do tend to find is that never really seems to happen. I mean, that's like a jumping off point. It's too loud. It's too loud. Doesn't look too loud over there. Oh, dear. You see, the problem is I believe everything you say, so I'm just going to be going forwards and backwards. I'm just going to put that about there. Okay, all good now. Good, better, good, much, good, great. Good. I've got an error. Oh, that's not a good thing to see over there. Okay, stand by your beds. This would be a good time to insert some ads, says YouTube. I've hardly started. Well, that's working over there. Just let me see whether... Please try again later, it says. Oh, I don't know. It's a bit disconcerting. Am I going to worry about that? No. Anyway, as I was saying, before we get distracted by technical difficulties, as is often the way, is that the idea is to talk about the music technology and the modular and the synthesizers and stuff that came out this month. Following on, this is the follow-on from the Molten Music Monthly. That's the general idea, but it never seems to really follow that. What we tend to do is I talk on whatever's on my mind for a bit, usually associated with modular and synthesizers and that sort of stuff. And people in the chat contribute and throw things at me, whether it's questions or ideas or bits and bobs. We can have a sing-along, play a bit of this stuff, whatever that's about. I do have one thing that we could do, which I thought might be fun, which is to test out my microgrids that I've been having some trouble with. So I thought perhaps we could look at that. And let me get the proper chat up. Hang on a sec. Make sure I'm looking at the right people. So that's the idea, really. So we'll start off by drinking a little bit of coffee. I was looking I can't seem to find my bottle opener again. I'll have to track it down in a minute so I've got some Ghost Ship over there to drink. Good lad, Andrew. Well done. How you doing? How you feeling? So yeah, I mean, there's some news that we can kick off with straight away, is that Synth East is sold out. Hey! Now, I mean, me in my own little optimistic way, I kind of thought it might do that overnight. So I was a little bit worried about when we first launched tickets to make sure that everybody knew when the tickets were going live, because I imagine they would sell out like that. But it's actually taken 2 months. But that's all right. It's super quiet again, is it? Anyway. So that's very exciting. Now, I must stress that it's only the daytime event that's sold out. The evening event has still got plenty of tickets left. Still got plenty, because we can actually fit more in the evening. That's the funny thing, because during the day the entire hall is packed full of exhibitors, so there's naturally no room for people at all. But in the evening, that's all going to be cleared out, so there's a lot more room for people. So we can fit about 200 in the evening, whereas during the day it's only about 150. So there are tickets to the evening, and the evening consists of Nick Colt Void, go and check her out on YouTube, Finley Shakespeare, and me and Steve doing a bit of a jam, which is going to be hilarious. I mean, you're gonna have to be there. It will be a once in a lifetime thing. I have absolutely no guarantees of it being filmed or videoed or broadcast or live streamed or anything. 1, 2. No, I've definitely got level over there, so I don't know what you're talking about anymore. So that's the so the evening is still available, so come to that. And if you've missed out on the day, then that's a shame, but never mind. There'll still be some fantastic performances to see in the evening, and it'll be a jolly good time in Norwich on the 4th of March. So yeah, that'll be awesome. Are you still saying it's quiet? Don't mess with me. I can bring my mic closer. Look, my poor old C3000 here, my decades-old C3000 is doing its job nicely. 1, 2, 2. See, that's loads of level, far more level than you deserve, I would say. Stop it. I'm going to leave it like that now. Well, what will happen is I'll play something over here, and it will be super loud. Hang on. See, I was careful, then I turned it down a little bit for you. Yeah, it is going to be epic. I think it will. I mean, so what is there to do? Because what I did on Friday is I went round the actual venue to measure it up, because we ended up, I reckoned initially I could fit in about, I think it was 15 tables, maybe a couple more. And this was purely by having a little plan layout, trying to create a table to scale, and then, moving it around in Photoshop. And but I found that I had about sort of like 25 exhibitors wanting to come, which was great. I mean, to start with, it's like, oh my goodness, nobody wants to come, and people going, oh well, yeah, that sounds all right, maybe. I mean, I've got other things to do, that kind of thing. And it is a bit of a hassle. I mean, it's a hassle coming all the way to Norfolk. I appreciate that. And it's not huge, What? So actually encouraging exhibitors to come along was the first challenge, I suppose. But then also almost immediately we hit this problem with a clash with another show which was potentially going to be on in London, but thankfully they ended up moving their date. But that sort of hit us a bit sideways as well to start with. But once all that was ironed out, then people started coming through. So now I have too many exhibitors to fit in. So because I had a last minute yes from Korg, which was unexpected, but very, very welcome, because they're like a proper synth company with synthesizers and stuff. So that's quite exciting. And they want 2 tables. So I'm assuming we'll see a bunch. I don't know, what would we see? Would we see the new the Strange Organ-esque type one? Are they going to bring an ARP? Are they going to bring the drum log? Those would be my assumptions. Maybe the strange bass orientated mini log bass thing. Don't know. So yeah, great. So got a couple of tables from them, a couple of tables of Source, who are bringing Arturia, Moog, Eventide, ASM, PWM, a whole bunch of stuff. So that's great. So anyway, I went to the venue on Friday, remeasured it, took a load of photographs. I even took along a mock table. So I got a bit of cardboard that was 6 feet by 2 feet, 2 feet 3. And I dragged that around the place to try to map out exactly how many tables I could get in there. And I reckon now that I can probably get about 26. And that includes a little bit of the foyer, little bit of the bar area. The bar area is also going to have Synth Club in there, possibly a table from EMOM, and some enthusiasts type synthesizers and bits and pieces in there. So now I've just got to kind of allocate everyone a space and a table and make sure that everyone's going to fit in, because I've still got a couple more that I haven't been able to fit in yet. So exciting. And I know there's also one or two that I spoke to early on who said yeah they'd be into it and then have not actually signed up at all, and I fear slightly that they're going to miss out. So heck, you know, trials and tribulations, you have to end up saying no to people, which is, you know, you never want to be doing that, but that's something that we're going to have to do by the sounds of things. Updates on an upcoming poly. Well, that's news to me, mate, but that sounds like the sort of thing that would happen. Gated Caffeine asks if I have any plans for an in-depth Trinity review. Yes, I do, both in print and video, I should think. I mean, I was planning to get into it sooner. That's kind of one of the reasons I got the microgrids, was to get all of that running, and then I ran into these weird problems, which is not the fault of the Trinity. I thought it was, and I managed to completely brick it by trying to update the firmware poorly, but I've rescued it, which is awesome. So I got it back, but I did initially just destroy it, which was a real shame. But in the process, I was able to give Modbap some better instructions on how you destroy it with Windows, as opposed to all the Mac instructions which they had on their website. So that was nice. But, oh yeah, what do I do with that? And how do I do that? I don't think I remember. But anyway, we might look at that later. We might plug those two things together and see what happens. But yes, I do plan to do a bigger thing on the Trinity, or something at all. But I have lots of things, what's that coming from, on the go. And I'm just trying to work out exactly what my schedule's going to be for the next little time. Because, I mean, Synth East is only a month away now, 5 weeks maybe. And I've got to practice. I've got to get my rig together. I haven't even decided what rig I'm taking yet. Unfortunately, Steve Davis is kind of in the process of moving house. So we haven't had the time we thought we might have to get together. So it's all going to go to the wire. Plus, I promised that I would finish my Deckard's Dream. So I've really, what I'd like to do over the next 4 or 5 weeks is work out what I'm going to build into the case to take for the gig. What would work well with what Steve's doing, what Steve's going to do, and try to iron out and learn that single case. Because I don't want to take lots and lots. I've been tossing up lately between the smaller case, my orange case, which is over there, which you can't see, and my double rack brute, trying to decide which is the better. Whether I want to go just slightly smaller, because in some ways, when you have, the more stuff you have, the more complicated it can get, even though it gives you more options, particularly when jamming with somebody else. But then also when jamming with somebody else, you don't need as many options, because he's going to be doing half of it. So, which makes me think, well, I should just tailor it down to the single case and sort of focus in a little bit more. But then we've still got to fill half an hour. So you think, well, in that case, we need change and variation. Where are the power settings in this bloody computer? Edit power plan. Here we go. Sorry, just bear with me a second. No, you don't need to turn off the display. And no, you don't need to put the computer to sleep. Don't be stupid. There we go. So this is my Surface Pro 9 that I'm just playing with here, which I do plan to do a proper in-depth audio tuning and getting it to run with music software type video. But I haven't done anything on it yet, so it's still got all the rubbish power settings in it. By the by, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, trying to decide on a case of stuff. So yeah, so I'm in this place where I don't really know whether to go big so that I can cover all my bases, or go smaller to keep it more focused. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a third way where I take a smaller case, but then something extra, you know, a little synth or a little row of something interesting which could help as a bit of extra that I don't have to worry about. Maybe. I don't know. See, that's what I'm going to have to wrangle with. And there's, along with the Deckard's Dream, I've got a bunch of other cool kits I want to make, because I want to use the modules in the thing for the thing, if you get me. I got this wonderful drop strange fader thing from Voltage Vibes that I'd very much like to go, and I got a delay from Access Modular that I'd like to sort out too. So, you know, lots, and also I've got things to do, and writings to write and reviews to write. I've got a sample verse, which is nice. It's in a box over there. I need to try that out. Actually get something sort of fun and interesting to review. So, but everyone seems to like that, which is very cool. So I'm going to give that a bit of a go. But otherwise, I've got things like the Nautilus and Aurora to review, the Trinity. I've got the ASQ1 still to do. It was great getting through the vector wave. I've been putting that off because every time I looked at it, I thought, well, it's a bit scary. It's a little bit deep. You know, I feel like I'm going to make a fool of myself, not knowing really what it's about. But once I sat down and gave it some proper hours, you know, not just oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. If you give it a couple of hours, it really starts to come alive and starts to turn into this fabulously fascinating thing. So that was great. I really enjoyed that in the end. But as I say, it's one of those weird things where I mean, I don't know who else finds this, but I find that I go through a lot of sort of anxiety before reviewing a product, because there's this element of, I have no idea what I'm talking about, and why would anybody want me to review this thing? And I can't possibly, I'm going to get it all wrong. But then I've found, well, at least up to now, I mean, I've been getting away with it this long so far, is that I push through, I do the work, you know, I think about it deeply, and it, you know, I seem to get to the bottom of it, and that's good. But that doesn't mean that I then at the next review think that's going to work again. You have to go back to the beginning, and you have to work through this feeling that you have no idea what you're talking about, and then hopefully get to the point where, sod it, I'm just going to do the video. So yeah, there we go. And I have this exact experience is what I'm going through now with the Tiger from Pittsburgh Modular, which I'm not allowed to tell you about. But they have published the name out there a bit, which is interesting. So, and Richard Nicol has done a few demos as well too. So interesting. But that will all be revealed on Tuesday. I believe he's doing a live stream Tuesday night, all about it, which will be great. And then I've got a video hopefully ready to go. I think I'll probably, well, I'll talk to Pittsburgh about it, but I think I'll put it live after they've finished their bit. There's no point competing with their live stream. Things a bit pointless. So I'll let them do their thing, but it's, you know, whenever they want it really. So that's exciting. That's what I've got to do this week. But it's almost like this is the last deadline thing I've got to do, so I can then start freeing up space for concentrating on my performance for Synth East, which is great. So yeah, exciting stuff. Look, I think I can get rid of that. Look, it's starting a bit warm up. Yeah, I know a lot says I do and I don't. I mean, I'm not seeking compliments. It's just the way that one's mind works, my mind works, going through this stuff. Yeah, and Synth East is indeed a long way to come from somewhere in Europe. That is true. It is. Norwich is a bit out of the way. I wasn't expecting really anyone to come from Norfolk. I mean, I had lots of lovely people saying, yeah, let's come from like America and stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's great, but really, no, I don't think that's necessary. I mean, give us time, right? And it will be a bigger show. It will be a bigger thing. Hopefully over time, it will become the show of the East of England, which it already is, but a bigger, more interesting thing. We'll see. I mean, I have potentially we could turn it into a festival, so everyone could come and camp. I mean, that'd be quite exciting. I don't know where, but Norfolk's just one big campsite. Hey, Swizzle Circuits over in Twitch. Well done. I almost had a New Year's resolution to close down all these other channels because I'm currently, I can tell you, hang on, I am stream. I am broadcasting out to Twitter with nobody. Facebook with nobody. Molten Facebook with nobody. My personal Facebook with a couple of people. God love you. That's probably Mum and Dad. Hey, how you doing? And then YouTube is looking a little bit more healthy with 70 odd of you knocking around, which is great. It's not awfully flat, Ken. It's wonderfully flat, I think you'll find. Hi, Peter Peter and Leon. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. That's nice. No bottle opener. No. Sadly, that's not something that they've done in the Merc. If Steve just talked about my merch, the merch website. Yeah, I got a beanie in today. Funnily enough, because they produce them in America and in Europe. So the first lot I ordered. Sorry, has my hair gone all over the place? My hair's far too bushy at the moment. I ordered some samples from America that came over. I had those recently. Just got one sampling from Europe, and it's really nice on the dark green. It's a really nice hat. I quite like that. Marco, hi. Yeah, it's a long way. It is. Yeah, I appreciate that. Andrew, yeah, I'd say that's true. I'd say that's very true, because people assume that Norfolk is flat, and it's not. I mean, it's not hilly, particularly. You know, it's not mountainous, that's for sure. But it's really Lincolnshire that's the flat bit. When you head out past Kingsley and into the Fens, that's where it's really, really flat. And that, as I say, is more Lincolnshire, also into Cambridgeshire, that sort of area. But hey, Norfolk's a little bit bumpy. Just a little bit bumpy, a little bit rolling. You know, just enough. How has the reaction been to the motion meter? It's been good. No, it's been spectacular. It's been really lovely. It's sold out. We're trying to make more, as I say. In fact, I think I got a notification that somebody had restocked, which is great. So there are more coming through. Yeah, it's been a really solid thing. I keep finding more uses for it. Like for instance, the back to me U grids again. These knobs here are really annoying. I really don't like them at all. They're small and difficult to turn, but plug in a motion meter into the CV inputs 1, 2 and 3 and you've got complete, glorious, smooth moving knob control. Brilliant. I mean, obviously it makes the whole thing wider, but hey, can't have everything. So but yeah, the motion meter's been going really well. We have yeah. No, we have nothing. Not saying anything. We have, yes, it's all come along nicely. People have been nice. I haven't particularly seen it in people's racks very much. I mean, it's been in a couple of Div Kids videos, which is nice, in some of his recent ones. So that's been lovely seeing that around. But we, what was it? Yes, but yeah, but I haven't seen it sort of generally in the wild on Instagram and stuff from the people that I follow and bits and pieces. So it's nice to come across it unexpectedly. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and there's also a software version in VCV Rack. Peter, yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. Well, funny enough, I got a call from someone who had missed out on tickets, but sadly had already booked their flight. So I'm going to try to sort that out. So if you would still really like to come and it is sold out, just let me know and I'll put you on a bit of a list, because there may be returns, or there may be something we can do. We don't really know, but I can't promise anything. But if you'd really, really like to go and you can't get a ticket, then just let me know and I'll certainly see what I can do. How's the weather? It's cold. It's not snowy where I am, but it's certainly chilly. I mean, it's funny in our part of the world is that you're never quite sure when winter happens. I mean, we had quite a bit of winter in November this year, and then you're never quite sure. It may just peter out and just carry on through, and then before you know it, it's springtime. Or suddenly in February we get 3 weeks of snow. You just don't seem to know. There's no way of knowing anymore. So as we're entering into February, we're still just wondering whether that will happen or not. Oh, my coffee's gone cold. In which case, I need to do some. I need to find my bottle opener. 1 second. Now, I really need to get that Descartes Dream done. I mean, there's bits of it here, you know, knocking about, catching dust. Catching dust? What does one say? Gathering dust, that's the word I'm after. Where is... Could I open it with those? Am I going to have to go back to the house? Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it. See, told you I'd seen it. All right, we're going. We're good. Oh. Oh. So, what's been happening in the world of music tech then? It's been completely dead. The whole of December, mostly, and January, there's just been nothing. I mean, I was really struggling to find things to talk about for the Molten Monthly. And then I even left something out. I left the Quantum 2 out. It's funny when you do that. I mean, it's, you know, you've written it down, and you've even said I even said the funny line at the front of the video about something about it, and then I forgot to talk about it, and I only discovered that after I was just skipping through the video, because, you know, you sort of check it after you've rendered it, and it's like, hang on, I missed a whole thing out. And so you know, I had to go and re-render it, take out that first line, because I'm not going to go back and do it. You know, once you've missed something, you've missed something. Not the end of the world. Am I still dumping stuff to the reel-to-reel? I did when Lula was here, Lula York, we did a little bit of a jam together. I recorded that to the reel-to-reel, and it seems to still be working. It's not as if I'm using it all the time, because I'm not doing a whole lot of actual music. I'm just doing snippets. But I think, hopefully, hi Easel Cat, I hope that it will become a bit more of a fixture, because, you know, things are changing this year. I'm trying to keep my focus on getting some good videos done, which would then hopefully move me towards making more music, particularly coming towards Synth East. I'm hoping to really iron down either 2 cases or 1 case of stuff that I can start making some music with, which would be great. I also have a desire to make some synth music, just to do it. You know, the one thing that gets in the way is the not doing it. So to actually do something, that's definitely the answer. Oh, it definitely is. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be as cheesy as you like. That's, you know, the difficulty of the whole thing feeling a little bit, oh, you know, is it cliched, or is it cringy, or is it something? I don't know. Got to get over that. Really got to get over it, because there's people out there who look ridiculous, perhaps, but they're doing it. They're absolutely doing it, and I have total respect for that. To actually release something, get something done. It's Adnams Ghost Ship, localish, aren't they, in Suffolk? I think Southwold. Yeah, go make some tunes. Exactly, Andrew. I need to follow my own advice. But what I mean, it's interesting. There's been a lot of talk. I talked about this YouTubing thing recently. There's a lot of talk on YouTube about YouTubing, and one of the things that occurs to me is that doing the videos, doing the YouTubing is much of my creative output. It's the thing that pushes me into making music. It's what yeah, whenever I'm working on a product, I tend to bump out just a couple of shortish, well, I say short, I mean 10 minutes, they're longer than most people's entire videos. But I tend to do some little demos, and that I thoroughly enjoy the creativeness, the creative output stream, thought processes that go into that. And so a lot of my video production involves creating music and putting that out there, and that whole process is immensely enjoyable, immensely. So that's that kind of, yeah, that's the opposite of seeing making videos as some kind of job. Do you see what I mean? So I think with the whole thing, I mean, obviously, as you can imagine, I've thought about it a lot. And also I've been having some really great conversations with other YouTubers who are, you know, differently placed and have different ideas on it, and do things in a different way. We're our own worst gatekeepers. Yeah, we are. So what am I saying? So I mean, I just feel really strongly that we're very different, that we're not all the same. You can't lump all of synth YouTubers together anymore. You can lump any other sort of YouTubers together. We do things differently. We have different approaches. We have different intentions and different ways of wanting to work, if it's work. I don't know. And also we have different talents when it comes to being a business person, when being a marketing person, and all that jazz, you know. And those are not my strengths. My strengths are not in businessing, networking, that kind of thing. I'd much rather not have to bother with any of that. I'd much rather just make some cool videos that people like and help people, and that, you know, I don't know. A wealthy benefactor is what you need. Yeah, Matt, nice. Good to see you. I hope you're doing all right. I mean, it's bedlam out there with Dungeons and Dragons at the moment. It's fascinating to follow, and you're doing extraordinary work, sir, I would have to say. I don't claim to understand half of it. Yeah, but there's, I mean, we can talk about it if you like. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I want to say absolutely up front that I have nothing against people wanting to make a living out of YouTube. That is absolutely fine. And I would say for people who are trying to do it, it's really hard. It's really hard to make it into a living. You've got to, you know, there's no way of swizzling it. You've just got to do video after video after video, and hopefully get to a point where you can monetize that in some kind of way. So, you know, if you're looking to YouTube it, then I would say find another thing, find something else that funds your life. And if you're interested in making videos, or you have this desire, like I do, this burning desire to help people and to express that help through the fiddling around with modules, then have a side project which is your main project. Have a day job and do this on the side, because trying to do it for real, I don't think there's a whole lot of room for a whole lot of people. And we already have a good bunch of people who are trying to do that, and they've been doing it for years and are finally at a position where they can kind of do it for a living. So that's great. I don't really ever see myself as, well, I do. I fantasize about being in that sort of position, but I don't realistically see that happening. And that's okay. I'm okay. I'm kind of okay with that, because there are things that I could do to improve my income, and I am endeavouring to do those if I can find the time. But I think the effort required to get it to a livable standard, I don't know. I mean, I think it would. I don't think I could. Yeah, no, it doesn't work in a business plan. You're right. Yeah, now Gatekeeping brings up a really interesting point, and it's extremely valid. And this is what the conversations that we've been having, because YouTubers talk to each other, and we do have conversations about it, and we had a really good one recently. Funnily enough, a whole bunch of us got together for a chin wag, and it is fascinating, because there's this whole thing going on where you have you have a manufacturer who wants to launch a product, and they kind of have different choices. They can get together a team of people, of marketing, social managers, testing, performers, artists, camera work, production work, a budget for advertising. They can get all of those things together to launch a product. Or it seems they can just give one to a YouTuber, or maybe 3 or 4 YouTubers, and that's it. No other payments required, no other salaries involved, and it's we're not really sure whether that's right. Now, it's not YouTuber Union. No, I don't think that'll work, because we're too different. But anyway, let me try to articulate what I'm trying to say. I think we're in a really odd position, because if a manufacturer came to me and said, "Hi, think you're fabulous, could you make a video on our product? Here's £500 or something," and I'd go, "Yeah, okay." I would fully expect to deliver a video to that manufacturer. They say, "Here's £500, make a video." I would deliver video. Or it's like Ableton comes to you and says, "Could you do a course on getting started with Ableton?" I go, "Yes, of course." And they go, "Here's £10,000 because it's Ableton. They've got loads of money." And I go, and I make a little handful of videos, and I give them to Ableton, and they then own the videos and put them on their channel. That sounds right. That sounds normal. That's how it happens. That is how I have dealt with manufacturers in the past. I have done that, and really, I'll come to that later. But that is the way of doing it. Where it gets different is that they're coming to you and saying, "We've got this great product that you could put on your own channel." So what I mean is, you're not entering into some kind of agreement with that manufacturer. You're just taking their product and go, "Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much." And then it's kind of up to you in how you use that product, but on your own channel. So it's you that's getting the views. It's you that's getting the exposure. Oh, careful, dangerous word. But it's you that's getting the advertising revenue. And you have all sorts of opportunities to do all sorts of things with that piece of gear, whether it increases your musical output, whether it combines with other things, whether you do 5 videos on it. So it's not quite the same as other industries. It's not quite the same as, it's not as black and white as saying, "Oh yeah, they should pay you for the marketing." And the other thing that comes in then is that payment is very much going to colour how you approach and cover a product. Inevitably it will. And for many YouTubers, the way around that is that, well, I'm just doing a demo of it, I'm just doing an unpacking of it, I'm doing a walkthrough of it. They're not actually reviewing it, they're not offering an opinion on whether it's good or bad. They are just doing, not just, but they are doing a demo video of it, a video manual like Luke Pop would do, and that's fine. And I think you can probably do that for money. Not so much if you're doing a review, which is what I tend to do, because that just feels difficult. So what am I saying? I'm just saying that it's not straightforward, So if if Bo Beats, for instance, does a video on a Korg mini log, Korg gives him money, shouldn't he really give that video to Korg, and then Korg releases that video? But then that doesn't use Bo's viewership, so it gets muddy and grey in every sort of direction. Do you see what I mean? So ultimately, if a manufacturer is going to pay me to do a video on something, then that manufacturer should really own the rights to all of that video, shouldn't they? Otherwise, what are they paying for? They're paying for my time to do something for my own channel, it's murky. It's tricky. But on the flip side is that you, as a YouTuber, you spend a lot of time making a video on a product because you've been asked to, you know, because you want to do what the nice person wants you to do. Because you get approached by a manufacturer, there's a lot of flattery involved in that, and ego involved in that, and feeling like very grateful that, oh wow, this company wants me to make a video. That's awesome. So I feel good about that. And then the product arrives and you play with it and think, oh, this is great. Look, I've got this product to play with. I wouldn't have had this in any other way. That's great. This is so exciting. And then you feel the weight of the obligation to therefore make a video on it. And so you put work into that, and you learn it, and you try to work it out. You then go through, as I spoke earlier, about the anxiety and self-doubt over whether you're good enough to actually review this thing, or whether you've got anything interesting to say. And quickly hours turns into days, and you've spent a week on this thing. And you then go, right, great. And then you spend another couple of days editing it down, and then you upload it and you put it out there in the world, only to find that there's 7 other videos on the same product from people who have better production values and a bigger viewership than you do. And so there's a sense that there's an imbalance between the amount of work that you put in to making a good video, because you want to make a good video, and what you actually get out of the manufacturer. I mean, it's lovely to have any kind of relationship with a manufacturer. That's always really nice. It's lovely to get free gear. Who wouldn't want free gear? It's not everything that you might think it is, but it's still awesome. But at the end of the day, you have spent days and days putting work in that you then get 2,000 views on. At least that's my experience. So there is definitely and absolutely a conversation to be had about this. But it's also difficult because, I mean, somebody mentioned gatekeeping. I'll have a look in some of your questions in a minute. But somebody mentioned gatekeeping, and that's another one of the sort of the problems that I see, in that it's all very well for people who have been doing this for 10 years, 5 years maybe, to say, oh yeah, no, we should all get paid now, because there's going to be a dozen other up-and-coming YouTubers who are younger and funkier and perhaps more interesting, who are going to do it for free. And why shouldn't they? You know? Because the problem is, when you start putting a paywall in like this, is that it starts getting exclusive again. You start, you know, because the manufacturer's only going to want to give money to people who are going to be able to deliver on what they're asking. Whereas if they're not paying anybody, if they're just giving out a few bits of product, then, you know, it's a risk worth taking, you know. That they can, you know, try out a few different people for fun, because they'll be enthusiastic about it. They're not going to be old and cynical like the rest of us. And so then it becomes, well, that we're all going to have to get on board with this idea that manufacturers have to pay us, which again comes back to this kind of gatekeeping thing. How do you get into that club? How do you get to be on the list of people that manufacturers are actually going to pay? That kind of means being an artist and a producer, not just a YouTuber. It's murky. It really is. I'm not quite sure what the answer is yet. I'm still thinking it through, you know. I mean, for myself, even though, as I've said, I'd like to be able to do so I'm not going to worry about the sound. It is there. I might have just leaned back a little bit. I'm sorry about that. What was I saying? Try not to get distracted. So yeah, so yeah, I don't know what the answer is. Yeah, from my point of view, I did it. Yeah, I have for a long time thought that I could do this full time, and I still would like to do it full time. Making videos is fun. It's fun. I enjoy doing it, and I feel I have I think I have something to offer. I think I have a voice, a way of explaining things, which people tell me in the comments is really helpful. And I like that, and I like the idea of that. I like the idea of doing a lot more than just reviews. I seem to be focusing a bit on reviews at the moment because I have a bit of a backlog to get through. But the way I do reviews, I feel, tends to explain the thing that I'm looking at, and I think people have found that useful. So it's good because I do tend to go into a lot of depth. I've got long videos. So yeah. So yeah, as I say, from my point of view, I don't want to have to deal with the business of securing funding for everything. I do a bit of affiliate link stuff. I've got Patreon out there, the merch, other bits and pieces, trying to find ways that sort of passively, once I put in a bit of work, they then passively generate income. Same with the adverts and bits and pieces. I dislike the idea of having to negotiate with manufacturers and come up with some kind of price that people are happy with. Well, I'm happy with. I don't know what that is. So I find that whole side of it difficult. I love the fact that YouTube generates a bit of cash. I love the fact that people support me in making videos. That is awesome. I wish that would go a bit further, I suppose. But without me having to, I don't know, get hard-nosed with somebody over how much they're going to give me to review a synth. And as I say, if I do in reviews, that just doesn't sit right with me. So tricky. So I don't think I'm going to be pushing for some kind of unionization of YouTube anytime soon, but I do understand those who do. I do understand those who are trying to make a living out of it and how important those things are. And I think that's right. I mean, a good example at the moment is the Tiger that I'm working on, is that it's taken quite a few days, and I'm doing it for free, or for the price of the synth, I suppose, because I'm interested and I like the guys at Pittsburgh and Create Audio. I really like them. I want to help. I had a great time doing the West Pest and the East Beast, and other bits and pieces. So I mean, it's made me think about that relationship, that am I spending too much time on something for free? Is that good? Is that ultimately healthy for me? And then why do I agonize over whether I'm able to do it or not? And then should it matter? But I mean, there's an element of that which is, if I'm not being paid to do something, then I feel I have a certain amount of control over it. As in, if I don't do it, I'll feel bad a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. I can always send the product back. I have done plenty of times. So there's a dynamic where I feel I'm very much in control and in charge, and I'm not obligated quite as much. There's always some, but not quite as much. Whereas if I was paid, that would be a whole different thing, and I would feel I'd have to do it. Yeah. So there are definite pros in this sort of wishy-washy, as it goes, friendly, yeah, all right, mate, I'll send you a synth kind of way of doing things, So, as I say, it's not an easy thing to navigate exactly, and I don't want that sense to be lost. I don't want Andrew, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Couple of beers with a $5. Oh, thank you. So so these are just basically thoughts off the top of my head after thinking about it and talking about it. I just like doing what I'm doing. I'd love there to be more money involved, but I'm not prepared to spend all my time seeking that out, because I don't think that getting money from the manufacturer, from my point of view, is ultimately going to improve what I do, or help. But I mean, it might put food on the table, so like I say, it just goes round in circles. So there we go. Do you consider it a hobby or part-time job? you know, you can see it as you have multiple streams in this modern world. You have multiple streams of revenue. So it's one of those streams of revenue. For me, it's about. I mean, I don't. You know, I have a very modest income. You know, I don't mind being transparent about these things. It just gets a bit embarrassing if you're not careful. But yeah, I'm somewhere around minimum wage, which is better than I was a few years ago. But that's all right. You know, I'm earning enough. I'm earning what I need at the moment, which is okay. It's just, you know, it's always nice to be able to earn more. So YouTube is about a quarter of my income, a fifth of my income on a good month, I would say. Most of my income comes from writing. I write from Sound on Sound, which pays very well. I write for a couple of websites, some that pay better than others, but it all contributes, you know. So that needs to be where my focus is, because that's actually what generates the cash and pays the mortgage. This is kind of a bit extra. It's kind of a bit extra. Okay, so that was a whole load of talking from me. So I'm just going to rewind through the comments a little bit to see if I can pick up any of your questions. And if I don't, feel free to re-ask. Okay? Weed. So Andrew, you're booked for 2 nights at the Riverside Travel Lodge. Oh, cool. Riverside is kind of nice, up and coming. Kites, what do Korg and Ableton and such like pay? You know, I have no idea because they've never actually offered me money. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that question is. It's always difficult talking about money. It drives us all nuts, doesn't it? And one of the things that we want to try to be more transparent about between us YouTubers is that sort of thing, so that we know that people are all getting a fair deal. Do you know what I mean? But again, that's not really my thing. Just go back a little bit. Yeah, I mean, as Ian says, if YouTubers stop doing reviews, then there'll be plenty of young YouTubers that will do that, which is true, and will do it for free. Yeah, and as I say, for reviews, it kind of needs to be free, really. It's tricky to do it otherwise. I mean, the way that it works, the way doing reviews works best for me is that the most pure way is that, so I write for Sound on Sound, a magazine, a print magazine, and they source a product like the Sonic, like the, what's it called? Sample verse? No, was it the, hang on. There we go, that fella. So here's an example of a pure review. This sample track from whoever it is, the Liven people. Sonicware, that's where I'm getting to. So yeah, this fella. So Sound on Sound sent that to me and have asked me to do a review. So I will check that out over a course of a couple of days or so and check it out, write up my thoughts on it, write probably about 2,500 words. So as I say, it will probably take me, with the photography and the testing out, probably about a week. And I will submit a review. Then this will get picked up by the people who sent it to me. It goes away. I don't get to keep it. And Sound on Sound then pay me about 100 and, is it £1? No, it's is it 15p a word? 1.5p, I can't remember. I would reckon something in the region of £300 for a review of that. So the money comes from the magazine. It doesn't come from the manufacturer. I have no contact with the advertising department of Sound on Sound, so whether they advertise or don't advertise makes no difference. In fact, I mean, I can tell you that Behringer had a bit of a senior moment. or something. Behringer are a strange company to deal with when it comes to magazines. And at one time, we did a little bit. I did that review of the TD3MO, and we had a bit of a falling out over it, unfortunately. But the review went in the magazine. Behringer, of course, will never ever put adverts in any kind of magazine. So people who say that people buy reviews, manufacturers buy reviews, it's just nonsense. It may have happened in other magazines, in other low quality magazines, who knows? But for Sound on Sound, it's just not going to happen. So we've reviewed Behringer stuff that we've bought ourselves, because Behringer no longer will send anything to us because they think we're the devil or something. I don't quite know what it is. But so what I'm saying is there's no connection between reviews and advertising for the magazine. You know, the magazine goes out to it makes inquiries with all manufacturers. Would you like to advertise in our magazine? It's got a massive readership. People look at these adverts for long periods of time, and it's a real resource. I mean, it's old school, but it's still doing it. So that's how that works. And I have not been influenced by the manufacturer. I've not been paid by the manufacturer. I don't get to keep the product. So it's a purist review that you're going to get. All that's left is my own bias, which is to lean towards the positives, which I don't think is a bad thing, because in some ways you can make the assumption that a product that gets released in our industry, generally speaking, works, you know, and is half decent. So I very, very rarely do you come across a product which is actually bad. It's all going to be relatively good. And so when you're reviewing something like this, you're looking for what it does, what's interesting about it, what's good about it, what does it do well. And in the process of doing that, you'll also find things that, oh, that's a bit odd, or this is weird, and you'll talk about those as well. But your focus is generally to find out, what does this do well, and to express that and talk about it. And that's why perhaps reviews do seem a little bit upbeat sometimes. I don't think that's some conspiracy in order to get you to buy stuff. That's just kind of how products are, and that's kind of what you're trying to do. You're not looking for fault, you know, you're looking for what it does that's good. So when it then comes to YouTube, it gets a whole lot murkier, because you are sometimes given the product. Not always. I mean, I had this wonderful Elta music filter, desktop filter, which funny enough was for Sound on Sound. But I was really sad when they took that away. I was hoping to do some videos on it because it was lovely. But they've taken it away, which is really sad. So what am I saying? So yeah. So when you do it on YouTube, and you do perhaps get to keep a product, then does that sway you a little bit? No, it doesn't, because you haven't got time for all of that. You are trying to do something as honestly as you can. So just because they've sent it to you, because I've been sent tons of stuff. I got boxes of stuff cluttering up the place. It's like I'm no longer impressed by somebody sending me stuff. It's almost like it's like just going to a shop and trying it out. You know, it's no real more than that. I'm not integrating it into my larger music making thing, because you don't have time to do all of that. You want to just focus on the products that you know and understand and really, really like. So it's, you know, the whole awesomeness about being given free gear is still awesome, particularly when you're starting out, absolutely, but it's not all it's cracked up to be, you know, and doesn't have the massive sway of influence that you think it does. But at the same time, if you're reviewing a product, you're trying to look for the good in something, because also you come to understand that the manufacturer is also a person, and is also a group of designers and creatives and artists and engineers who have put this thing together. And you just dismissing it out of hand, or just picking up on as much criticism as possible, is not really serving the product or the effort that company's put in. You need to be looking for, what is it that this does? What could it do, and what could it do better? And what does it not quite get right? You know, that has to be the attitude that you approach it with. At least that's the attitude I tend to approach it with. And that's not because they've sent me one for free. It's because that's the right way to do things, I think. Gosh, that was a whole load of stuff from one question that wasn't even about that. A synth promotional manifesto. Write an agreement. Yeah, maybe. Any content is advertising. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's lots of sweeping generalizations we can make over, oh, you got a free synth, therefore it's paid promotion. I have to tick a box on YouTube that says paid promotion if they've sent me the thing, you know, and that gives the complete wrong impression. That gives the impression that I have been paid, here's cash for this video, and that's not the case. But I have to tick that box if I've been sent the product for free, you know, and people say, oh, well, you have been paid then. Yeah, well, have I really? Ba, 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 ba. Have I ever found any review products really bad? Yes, just the other day, actually. Got sent this thing. It was sort of pushed at us, rather. It's a MIDI controller. I don't want to go into it too much, but you know, often a product is the greatest, newest, most fantastic thing you've ever seen, and they really lent very heavily on this. So eventually I got around to trying it out because they're releasing, I think, this week, and you know, plugged it in, was trying it out, trying to work my way through. They sent me a manual. It wasn't really a manual, it was more of a spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet sort of linked to different tabs of itself, which was kind of clever, but at the same time was hard to navigate and a bit weird. And what was it saying, and what was this thing trying to do? They seem to have a real problem of defining what it was that this product was, which was not helpful. I had to drag out of them initially, what is it? Because it didn't actually mention MIDI on any of the marketing that they sent me, which was a bit weird considering it's a MIDI controller. But a pad one, not a keyboard one, which is why, you know, it was up for debate, I suppose. But anyway, so working through it, trying to work out how it works, what it does, with a manual that really wasn't telling you anything. And then it said, oh, look, there's a tutorial, we can step you through this. I thought, great, okay, finally. So you go to their website, it brings up a control panel for it, and then you have to load some drivers. You go, okay. So you click the link to find the drivers, and it takes you to a completely different website, which just comes up with a big message saying, this site can't work with ad blockers. Can't work with ad blockers. You go, right, okay, so all right, so try to work out how to turn off my ad blockers. I can't, so I open up a different browser that I don't use very often, so that it doesn't have anything on it. Go to the website again, and this time it says, great, you don't have an ad blocker. Would you like one? Here's one, here's one, here's one. Have this one. You should have an ad blocker. It's really bad that you don't have an ad blocker. Here's an ad blocker. Have this ad blocker. It's like, oh, clicking on flipping crosses to close this thing down. Right, no, okay, close all this. I don't need one. Thank you very much, though. And then I'm sitting there looking at it going, you know, I'm trying to find the download button. So this, if you imagine, is like a shareware page where every download link is really an advert. And you're looking at it, and then, oh, all right, would you like some porn, sir? Oh, no, not really. Well, how about some cartoon porn? No. Erotic literature? No, thank you. No, closing. And this just went on, and I just sat there thinking, there's no way I'm downloading anything from this website. No way. No way. So I kind of had to stop it there, and I sent them a message saying, I'm sorry, I just can't do this review because this is a nonsense. You know, you need to have a bit of a rethink about how you're approaching your product to our market. But that is a real rarity. That's a very, very, very rare occasion. Most of the time things are pretty sorted. You know, there's things I don't understand, and sometimes you require a conversation with the manufacturer to really get what is it you're trying to do with this, because particularly in bits of modular, sometimes in synthesis, bits of software, some of the stranger software sometimes requires a bit of a conversation, and that can be useful because it brings out a better explanation of the software, and also it reminds the manufacturer that they're not always the best people to describe their own stuff because they're super close to it and they know everything about it and they understand all the algorithms, they understand how the whole thing works. And when they try to explain it to somebody who has no idea what any of these things mean, it's not going to go very well. So I find myself a good tripwire in that regard, because although I do know some stuff, I do my best to come at things in quite a blunt way, So that if it needs deep understanding, we need to understand what that understanding is. I'm not going to assume that every reader has that kind of thing. Another thing is that I think as a group of YouTubers, we pay too much attention to the loudest voices. Because a lot of the conversation revolves around comments that people have had. And like one of them is around launch day videos, when you get 5 videos and they're all the same, on the same product at the same time, and people moan about it. But really, I think the majority of people just watch the video that they want to watch. I think it's only a small minority of people who get arsy about these sorts of things and care enough to write a comment about it. And in some ways, I dislike the idea that the way we approach things is getting ruled by this very vocal minority. You know, they can bite me. At the same time, I want to listen, of course, to our viewers and stuff, but I would listen much more closely to a Patreon than I would to a random YouTube comment from someone, or Facebook comment. So, you know, that's a consideration as well. We shouldn't be too pushed around by people who seem to want some kind of unachievably pure review, or unachievably perfectly tailored YouTube review experience that's just perfect for them, you know. Anyway, let's see if there's anything else. Sorry, I'm very well behind now. What range they pay? I had to look at that one. Yeah, Michael Manning says he does some explainer videos sometimes. It's great seeing comments from people who find them helpful. Yes, it is. That's the real nice thing, I think. That's a real buzz. To make a video and for someone to put a nice comment and say, that was really helpful, is just the best. That really is. I mean, that's why I persevere with these surface videos that I haven't persevered with very much, is that it's enormously helpful to people, because there's so little out there, really, on you know, how you make these sort of computers run well with music software. So yeah, that's a big driving force, is the fact that it's helpful, because you know, I started doing videos because I knew something and wanted to share what I knew, you know. So, because I mean, it's the sort of thing I used to do when I worked at Turnkey. You would be doing this all day. You'd be demonstrating products to people and telling them how it worked, and also trying to help them make the right purchasing decisions. And so it was really just bringing that vibe to YouTube, you know, trying to do the same sort of thing, trying to explain something, because I seem to have a bit of a knack for getting into these sorts of things, and a seemingly a good way of explaining, because I've very practiced at it. So that seemed to be a very positive thing. Yeah, DivKid is absolutely a master of modules. Extraordinary stuff he does. Extraordinary work. And he's a great example of someone who should get paid for what he does. Because he provides an amazing service to the manufacturers of a module. And absolutely, that's probably from me watching videos, he's probably the purest example of someone who should absolutely get paid by manufacturers to make those sorts of videos. And I think he does to some degree, if not always. I mean, that was part of his thing when he went full time. That was what he was trying to work out. How do you make that happen? And I think he's very good at that. He's far better at it than me. Well, because I'm not good at it at all. I mean, a classic example. I mean, I don't know this for fact, but this, as far as I understand it, DivKid and Bastel talked about doing a video on the pizza. So, you know, Bastel talked to DivKid. They sorted out some kind of deal, sent him a pizza, and he did a fantastic video on it. Me, I bought my own pizza and did a fabulous video on it. So that's kind of the difference, if you like. DivKid has a good head on his shoulders. He knows what he's doing. He provided a great service to Bastel Instruments in producing a fantastic video that really got to the bottom of what that module was all about. I, on the other hand, sort of winged it with a module and gave, I think, an interesting flavour and an interesting review of my thoughts on that particular module. Not only was it for free, I bought the module myself. You know, does that make? I guess the question that brings up then is DivKid's video worth more than mine? Does it have greater value than mine? See, I don't think that's the right question. I think that's a capitalist money business question, and I don't think that necessarily always works when we're talking about creativity and art and production and things like that. I don't think that's the right question. I don't think value necessarily has to be monetary. I think that both videos are completely valid. Both approaches, to me, are completely valid. One is not greater or better than the other. Mine's not more artistically sound or purer than DivKid's, and his isn't necessarily more savvy. It depends on what you want from your production of videos. You know, and I like a world in which both of those videos exist. So it's just that, you know, he's making a living from it and I'm not. Oh dear, oh dear. Long and turgid videos. Yep, that's me. Yeah, Peter says it's good to keep gear as one form of payment, but you should find all sorts of angles to make money from your activities. Yes, yeah, you have to. One has to, and I try to. Well, mostly I try to by doing a day job. And you try to augment that with the YouTube and the Google AdSense and the affiliate links and the merch, all those sorts of things. You try to bring that along. We love your stuff. Oh, thank you. That's really kind. The more videos we see, the better. Okay, cool. I don't think everyone feels that. Some people feel you get to a point there's too many, particularly when they come out at once. But again, that's what I say. I think that's just loudmouth people. I don't necessarily. I think the silent majority, the people who just watch videos, just watch the videos that they want to watch. You know. Pounds Pro. Oh, I'll get to that. Oh, damn it! That's on my list of things to do. Am I going to be able to do that in February? Because I've already used it now, and I've farted around with it, stumbled around with it a bit. So I would like to do that because I believe this is all part of my why I think I'm an asset. I'm an asset. I am to YouTube. I think I'm an asset. It's getting hot in here now because my approach to something like the Pounds Pro is that I don't know it. I'm already annoyed with it, and I know why I'm annoyed with it. So I think I'm the right sort of person to crash into it and to unpack what it is that it does and get my head around it. Because I want to get my head around it, and one of the best ways I find of getting my head around things is to make a video on it. Like with the vector wave, I wasn't getting under the surface at all until I knew that I've got to write a review for Sound on Sound first of all, and then make a video on it. So, Oh, look, Ben just happened to say, I don't know if that was in response to what I said, but he happened to say that my demo of the pizza is objectively the best one on the internet. Nice! Thank you. Thank you very much. I answered the hobby or part-time one, I think. Yeah, unfortunately, my videos are long. They just are. I find it hard to do an introduction in under 10 minutes. I don't know what it is. I sometimes watch other people's videos that are no more than 10 minutes long on an entire synthesizer or an entire product, and just feel that I feel two things. In some cases, you go, "Wow, that's amazing. How did they manage to convey all that information in just 10 minutes?" But actually, more often, I'm kind of feeling they didn't really tell us anything at all. But then, that's because they're better at doing this than I am. I feel that I don't know that I have to talk about everything. Otherwise, it's not doing it justice. Do you know what I mean? Whereas other people can just give an overview, and that seems to work. And evidently, from my level of subscriptions and viewer time and all that kind of thing, doing really long videos isn't necessarily what people want. But that seems to be what I'm happy with. It's like, with the Vector Wave, it was over an hour long, and I do try to keep all my videos under an hour if I can, because that just seems like that's long. But I went through it several times trying to edit out bits, trying to bring it down, and I didn't feel that I could. I just didn't feel I could. I even left some quite long demonstration bits in because I felt that was really important. I have in the past taken out the sound demos and put them in a separate video. And I still do that to a degree, but you want people to be able to hear it for more than a second. You want to hear development. You want to hear something. At least that's how I feel. So that's what I do. Exorb, thank you very much. Thank you very much. In fact, I can probably... No, I'm going to turn off the heater for the moment, just to save a couple of quid. Taxes must be a mess. What, for me? Yeah, well, no, actually not as much as you'd think, because I run Molten Music Technology, if this is of interest, as a company, as a limited company. And so all of the various streams just come into that, and I pay myself a salary. I messed that up, sadly, over the last couple of years. So I find myself with a whopping great big tax bill that's a bit unexpected. But, I'm working through that, and it will be all right. It's just that I underpaid a little bit. It's just I underpaid over a couple of years, which then starts to add up. But actually, no, it's relatively straightforward. But, there are pros and cons to running it as a company or running it as an individual. And I've found all of the pros and all the cons, I think. Doesn't writing pay well? It can do if you're doing it constantly. So, for instance, at Gear News, who I write for, it's changed quite a bit. And it used to pay really well. And now it's not that it doesn't pay as well. It's just that there isn't as much. I'm not allowed to do as many articles as I used to. Let's put it like that. And so it's similar with Sound on Sound. I can't write 10 reviews for Sound on Sound a month because there's just not room in the magazine, and there's lots of other writers. So I'll tend to do 1 or 2 a month for Sound on Sound. And that's all right. So, if you were to break down my pay, I'm, transparency and all that, I pay myself about 28k a year. And from that, as I say, about a fifth is YouTube. The rest is mostly writing. So if I'm taking home 2k, is it 2k? 2 and a bit k. I'm taking home less than 2k, obviously, with the tax and bits and pieces. I'm taking home about 1,700. I don't know. How's the easiest way to explain it? I don't know. So 28k, work that backwards. So I could probably make roughly $1,000 from Sound on Sound. I used to make a lot more from Gear News, but that's come down quite a bit. So I'm aiming to make about 2,500, I think, a month, aren't I? So YouTube is about 300. As I say, 400 sometimes. So you can see how these things come together, but also there's so many hidden costs. As I'm paying myself, not only do I have to pay national insurance on what I get, the company also has to pay national insurance. So it has its tax, I have my tax. So that's one of the cons of paying yourself from a company as opposed to being a sole trader, is that you have to earn more than you think in order to pay yourself less than you thought. So that's just how that goes. Village Greens asks or says, does the fact that you are a music journalist as well as a YouTuber influence your approach to gear? Perhaps it makes it harder to demo a product rather than review it. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've always done reviews. I mean, I've been writing. I wrote for Computer Music magazine fair while ago. Future Music, I've written for them. Written for Sound on Sound. I've written a book. Wrote a book in the end of the 90s, all about music technology and computer music and stuff. So I've been writing for a long time, sporadically. It's only been in the last 3-4 years that I've been doing it very, very regularly for Sound on Sound, and that's been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed doing that. And I am always looking at stuff from a review because I think that's important. I find it, I mean, I'm different. Again, as I say, YouTubers are different. I find it odd when a YouTuber doesn't want to give an opinion. It's like, why not just give your opinion? Because if people are watching you because they like what you do and what you've got to say, then surely an opinion is useful. You know, I mean, I come back to DivKid, who doesn't give opinions. He just absolutely plows through what everything does, which I think is amazing. And you know, he's very, very good at that. And the way that he does stuff doesn't really leave very much room for him to sort of sum up at the end. It's just not that sort of video. But for many other people, I think people tend to shy away from giving a review or giving an opinion, which I think is a shame. I think we should. You know, I quite like pointing out things that aren't quite right, you know, because I think that feedback is useful to a manufacturer. And it seems important to me that people shouldn't get things under false pretenses, because if we're just shining all the good bits, you know, it's then somebody might buy it and go, oh yeah, I see the good bits, but there was all this crap that it does that no one's ever talked about. So it's important, I think, to mention the oddities and the weirdness, you know. So that's definitely my approach. So I do come at it from I'm sharing an opinion, but that's also, heck, that's me. I'll share an opinion on all sorts of things, Yeah, Red Rectangle says there's a new synth out in 2 days. Yes, it's over there. It's there. I can see it. Ha! It's there. There it is. It's good. I've been playing with it solidly for the last sort of 3 or 4 days. It's yeah, it's wonderfully odd. It's what it is. That's my tagline. I'll tell you all about it on Wednesday after Richard's done his presentation, I think. From a YouTube Rarich Project asks, from a YouTube perspective, do you have any tools available to you to help you understand your viewer demographic? Oh yeah, tons and tons of tools. Oh, no end. I don't have no. Yeah, there's lots of tools. You could spend your life analysing all of the views all the time, all the data, like the data. I can't be arsed, mate. I don't. There's not, you know. It's like when you've got no time to do anything, you want to give over your time as much as possible to being creative. And to sit there looking at data it's extremely demotivating, because as soon as you get down to the reality that your video has only been viewed 200 times, and your 1 hour video has an average view time of 10 seconds. You don't want to know that stuff. You don't want to know it. You want to push on forward, assuming that people are going to watch it and people are going to watch the whole thing. I think if I analyse the data, I would not be doing it. I think that if I was doing it, I'd be doing short, sharp TikTok style videos that would just make me feel like an idiot. So it would be a waste of everybody's time. I believe that there's a small group of people out there who really appreciate what I do, and I feel I've found a bit of an audience for that, and I'm enormously grateful for those people. And sometimes, like for instance, my SQ64 video I did a month ago has really gone crazy. It's gone out there with like 15,000 views or something, which is fantastic. So every now and again I hit on something which works really well in terms of what views are. But, excuse me, I know that I've got a faithful couple of thousand people out there who really appreciate what I do, and that's cool. And the thing is that because YouTube ticks over, because it's generating a little bit, because it's contributing, you know, a chunk, then it seems worthwhile, you know. It seems like I shouldn't dismiss it. I shouldn't close it down. Because that also means closing down Patreon, and that also means other things, you know. So it's enough. I'm not going to moan about it. I'm not moaning about YouTube at all. I love making videos. I think it's extraordinary what YouTube have done to enable us, given us the opportunity to make these sorts of videos and have this conversation. We wouldn't be having this conversation with you good people out there. Yeah, there's apparently 111 of you sitting out there. That's amazing. It boggles my mind. Just extraordinary. And this is made possible through this sort of technology. So I'm not going to moan about it. I absolutely have no, you know, no. I would love to get more money. Yes, of course, that would make things easier. If I didn't have to write, I mean, I have to write, but if this making videos made more money, just generated, if it generated £1,000 a month, for instance, then you know, I could drop one or two other things and focus more on this. And therefore, what that would change is that I would make more. You know, I'm not that interested in getting backlighting LEDs or another 6 cameras or getting some potty plants. No, I think I've reached my production value level. And what more cash would do is simply give me more time to be able to have ultimately more videos coming out. So rather than, I mean, I aim for 1 a week. You know, I could be doing 2 a week, 3 a week, you know. Anyway, keep going. Uncle Chrome, I don't know what that means. For a week? Who said a week? It's a month. 300 a month. Who said a week? Was that me? Is that a response to me? One man went asked for the most surprising piece of kit that I've reviewed. Something that turned out to be really good. That Akai mini play, little mini piano thing, little MIDI controller. It's got not quite a general MIDI sound set inside. It was really great. It was really fun. It's got a fun arpeggiator. You've got a filter built in for some reason, and you're just filtering those, those crappy GM sounds, but they actually sounded all right, and the synth sounds and string sounds and things like that were great. It was quite a good, fun little thing. So I was expecting that to be pretty rubbish. So that was quite good. It's not particularly exciting, but these things aren't always particularly exciting. I don't tend to review too many exciting things for Sound on Sound. I'm soaking up audio interfaces, MIDI keyboards, a little bit of modular, that kind of thing. That's and I'm fine with that. I'm completely fine with that. I'm just thrilled to do anything at all. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Because if it's somebody sending something to me directly, if it's not Sound on Sound, if it's directly, I tend to only say yes to things that I'm interested in. Ultimately, trying to think. Something that was really good. That I wasn't expecting to be. Oh, good question. I'll have to think on that. I'll probably have to look through some folders to see what it is I've done. Yeah. Do I have an attic, cellar, or warehouse for storing all of the reviewed gear? Asks Cinematic Laboratory, whose YouTube channel you should check out. Keep sending people his way. You do some great stuff, mate. I really enjoy your channel. No, I mean I have a rack of crap. I don't want to turn the. I don't want to accidentally pull the. Can I pull the thing out? Am I going to show anything by accident? No. All right. I'll just give you a quick spin on my camera. Oh, so that's the side of Nightmare. Oh, I'm speaking really loudly to the microphone. Sorry. Over there. Well, I mean, most of the stuff I get to keep isn't very big, so it's mostly modular. People send me modules. Other things, I've got no, not very much. Honestly, not very much. Most of the stuff I do for Sound on Sound gets picked up again, so I don't get to keep that. That's not always the case. Things just end up knocking around in boxes. They just stack up. So no, they're just on a rack. And I get snowed under sometimes. That's just how it is. Keep just coming up with more shelves, try to put more stuff in places. Excuse me. I do have half an idea to start a bit of a synthesizer library, so to get this stuff into use, so that what am I saying? So that yeah, so it gets used, because it's a shame that there's stuff knocking about. But I mean, there's also issues in that if it's like a MIDI controller that comes with a suite of software, then that's not very resellable. Often it's NFRs which are linked into something or other, so you can't really move those on. They're not very borrowable. I don't tend to get to keep synths very often. I've got a Cobalt, an ASM, the Explorer, a Mini Freak, the Mod Wave. So I did all right on some smaller format synths, but nobody sent me anything big, particularly with those. So, you know, bits and pieces, but I've still got plenty of room to fill and plenty of things to throw out. So, you know, I'm not drowning. Am I drowning? Not really. I mean, I do have a couple of big MIDI controllers that I don't really need. I've got an M32 over there, Native Instrument ones that just sit beneath my screen, which I use a lot of the time. And I use the Arturia Keystep mostly as a MIDI controller for most of the testing that I do, the Keystep 37. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of big stuff. I've got a lot of modules. So with my synth library idea, probably the way it's going to start off is to do it with Eurorack. So any Eurorack that I'm not using, there's plenty just knocking around in places that drives me crazy that I'm not using it, and I'd very much like it to get used. So the idea will be, it'll be like, I don't remember, Love Film or that kind of subscription service where you sign up for $5 a month or whatever, and you can just borrow modules. And it's just the plan is, I mean, obviously if it raises a bunch of money, that's great, but that's not the intention. The intention is to get the stuff out there and to not lose any money doing that. So there'll be postage costs, obviously, or courier costs or whatever, in order to get stuff to move out and move in. And the general thought in my head is that you sign up for $5 and you can borrow one module a month, and it goes out and it comes back. Sign up for $10, you can borrow 3 modules or whatever. That kind of thing is the idea. And I think that could be great. It'd be great that things that I'm not using are getting used by people out there for a relatively, small amount of money. You're not having to buy a module for a couple £100. You can borrow it for a month and see if you like it or not. And at the same time, you're supporting me and supporting the idea of that. Blah blah blah. That sounds like a really interesting idea, and that could move into larger things and larger synths, but that just becomes a problem of courier damage and insurance and that kind of thing, and of course internationally gets trickier. But that's a bit of a thought, but that just requires me giving that some time to sit down and work it out and how that would all work. But I think that would be cool. Yeah, Batty, that's a nice comment about all the music which results in what is learnt in your videos. Yeah, um, yeah. No, I appreciate that. I mean, I know there's plenty of people out there who have benefited from my videos. Absolutely, that's all part and parcel of the reason behind it. And it's a shame that that doesn't result in more subscribers, more Patreons, more bits and pieces like that. You know, it's a shame it doesn't quite work. I mean, it's great getting the thanks. It's great getting that appreciation. It's great thinking that you're helping people. Um, it's just, I have that romantic belief that should that those that rewards should come, and absolutely they have. Through doing this channel, I've met some extraordinary people. I've had the opportunity to meet people. I've had the opportunity to give a seminar at Synth Fest. I've had the opportunity to meet manufacturers, to play on gear, to have conversations with people, to make music with interesting people. All of these things have come out of the opportunities that have been generated through doing this channel. And most of that, the rise of my channel came about through the surface and doing computer-based stuff, funnily enough. But that's now a few years in the past, and now everything from the last few years has been very synthesizer based. So I don't know, what am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying. Other than it's great that people benefit from what I do. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing that you want. You want people to be able to make music. And I know from working in a music shop for so many years that people struggle so hard with trying to understand the gear. And they have this burning desire to be creative, and they want to do things. They love the idea of running with something that's extraordinary, and they don't get the opportunity because they don't quite understand it, and it's an absolute joy to help people get through those troubles, and to be able to use the technology and use the gear. It's just an awesome thing to do. Awesome thing. Oh, Ian, you've concluded this week that synth technology has failed. It hasn't got simpler and slicker. It's relished in getting more complex, more obtuse, more esoteric, with little gain. Interesting. Yeah, I think there's some truth in that. I don't think that synth technology has failed. I think it has diversified, and I think that a lot of it goes towards more difficult stuff. I mean, Eurorack, I think, is a great example of complexity where there doesn't need to be any, but also complexity because it's interesting. And I think those two things work in in some kind of dynamic. Because often it's the simple modules that you really spend all your time with, and the more complicated ones, you spend all your time with. There's no answer to that. So I think it's all of those things. So I think synthesizers can get more complicated because we want to do deeper and deeper things. It's like people are trying to constantly reinvent frequency modulation, trying to reinvent FM so that we have better access to it. Well, I don't think they need to. I think the obsession, almost the fetish, with trying to make FM more accessible in some way misses the point. Do things need to be simpler? Because synthesizers tend to be simpler than Eurorack. Eurorack overcomplicates things because you have to plug it all in together yourself. But it's in the plug-in together of things that you understand things better, and so things become simpler. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Matt says the fact that you're not a Pam's fan is amazing to him. I can't wait to hear your deep dive on it. Yeah. It's a funny thing, right? I mean, I don't... it's one of the things that I'm going to talk about in it is how have I said this before? Have I only said it to myself? Because sometimes I talk to myself in preparation for videos. But it's that when I started out in Eurorack, sync used to mess me about. I did not understand it. Coming from software, MIDI sync, it all just works. I mean, of course, I have messed around with SMPTE and I have striped tapes and got that to run with a varying sample rate through an audio interface that can do that in order to sync a computer to tape. I've done that. But when it came to what sync actually is in synthesizers, in stuff, that boggled my mind. I had this flipping BeatStep Pro. I thought, oh yeah, fantastic. Got my first row of modular, got a BeatStep Pro. I thought, right, I'm sorted. Plugged it in. Everything just went manic. It all went haywire. Because I had like a touring machine and that together. And just going, what is going on? I don't understand. It was just bizarre. And that sort of continued until I got a clock module in Eurorack. And, a clock module in Eurorack goes bomb, bomb, bomb. Right, I'm going to take that bomb, bomb. I'm going to plug it in over here. That goes bomb, bomb. Now that's stepping through a sequence. Bomb, bomb. It's driving some drums. Boom, sh, boom, sh, boom, sh. Great, perfect. That's fantastic. And then I did this jam with Gaz online. And I said, can you send me a clock? So we worked out how to send me a clock. And, I got it over the internet through the Elk interface. Plugged it into my rig. My rig went crazy. Just go, well, what was that? It says, well, it's just a clock from Pam's. Right, but why is it so fast? And, well, it's because it's all kicking out 24 pulses per quarter note or whatever it is. So it's going like the clappers, which you don't need. Who needs that? I just want a pulse. Just give me a pulse. So he ended up sending me an LFO or something. And it's like, yeah, that's great. That's all I want. Just a clock, so everything then steps through and works and all that sort of business. So when I finally got the PAMS Pro, I plugged it in and connected it up. I think, right, so all of these are clock outputs, right? Okay, clock output. Everything just goes mad. You're going, oh, no. So my first exercise was to try to work my way through the menu system to how do I turn it down? I mean, I can turn the tempo down, but that's not the point. It's not the tempo. It's the number of beats that are going through the system. So I ended up like having to put in a divide by 8 or something just to get a sensible clock. So yeah. So my approach to PAMS is like, what is this about? And why is it going so fast? And surely other people have this problem, don't they? When it's like, right, so this is sync, which is 24 pulses per quarter note or whatever, as opposed to clock, which is beats per minute, essentially. See what I mean? So I don't know. So, but then I had a little bit of a play in PAMS and got it to kick out some drums because I was testing it with the U grids, which didn't seem to be working. And so I used that for a bit, but then I haven't touched it since, and that's been a little while before Christmas, I think that was. So anyway, I need to get back to that. But anyway, yes. So yes, I am very interested in having a deeper look at PAMS and coming to terms with what this sync stuff is all about. I'm sorry if some people have mentioned that it's quiet. I don't know why that is particularly. I'm still getting level over there. That's on the master output. Is it better if I do that? Probably. But well, you know, it's all set now. I'm not going to fanny around there. Oh, thanks, Nicholas. I appreciate the comment about listening to my journey. That's lovely. Learning through experimentation is definitely it. One man went. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Can you truly get a feel for something like the vector wave in under an hour? No, I don't think so. I mean, I did when the vector wave first came in. I played with it in a live stream, and and you could do the harmonics. You go, oh look, harmonics, that's interesting, and you can move the joystick about and get a thing going on. But I had no idea that it was actually an FM module, and it wasn't until I spoke to Jake at Synth Fest that I found that out. I assumed it was just these waveforms in four corners, and that was kind of it. So no, it does take a bit of time. But then you're probably talking about the length of my video in response to what I said about that. Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a heck of a lot of editing I do. I cut out a lot of stuff. Am I anywhere near the bottom of these? No, I'm still half an hour away. Okay. Let me just skip a little bit. So is Molten a corporation? We're a limited company. Limited company. So if I do something terribly wrong and get sued, I don't lose my house. I just lose the company. Isn't it only worth running it as a business if you earn over 100k a year? I don't know, is it? I mean, going back to when I started Molten Music Technology, I was building computers. And building computers, I was turning over about 200k a year. I wasn't making any money, but I was doing a shed load of business. And I kept going that way for a good few years. What was it, 2013? So it's 10 years this year, isn't it? I think. So for the first 5 or 6 years, built computers. And as I say, I made no money. I paid myself £500 a month. That was all I could do. And I worked flat out building computers. And as I say, when I started, I turned over, I did think one year I turned over about $250,000, but which seems just bonkers to me. Each computer would be costing £2,000. So I built 10. I would build 20 a month. 10 months, that's 200. Is that about right? I can't remember. I just can't remember. But so yeah, I started the business doing that, and I don't see any reason to stop it. I mean, potentially I'm paying more in tax than I need to, but the difficulty, because I'm really not very good at the paperwork. I'm not very good at keeping it together. Excuse me. Running it as a business like this makes the tax much easier. I've now subcontracted my PAYE, so I don't have to cope with that, because that used to be a massive thing of stress. Hence my tax bill. And that's now done elsewhere, which has simplified things. And now, I can just invoice. I can get money. I can try to keep my accounts up to date, which are horribly out of date at the moment, and I really need to redo them. And then I pay myself, and that seems to work for me. Again, I should probably sit down with a proper accountant at some point and find out a better way to do it. And maybe there is a better way to do it, but that's how I'm doing it at the minute. If I had the time to work out how the business should run properly, that would be great. I'm sure I found someone who could do that for me. Oh, Andrew, that's great. You'll be very happy with your molten motion meter. Do I worry about AI article writings? No, I don't. Not really. No. I can see how it could, websites could use it. Absolutely. News websites. Could they? No, honestly, I don't. I don't. No, I don't worry about it, honestly. Stream more platforms at once. I'm already doing Twitter, Facebook, Twitch with no one there. Oh, David, thank you very much. That's very, very kind. Oh, look at that. We've had like 28 quid's worth of revenue. That's extraordinary. That's lovely. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What's that? Something did a beep. Okay, don't worry. Yeah, I get paid as a test engineer. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Yeah, don't look at the stats. Don't look at how long people view your videos. No, I've got no intention of closing down. Did I give the impression I was closing down? I don't think so. I didn't mean to if I did, honestly. Steve, thank you. Oh, everyone's being so lovely. I may do at one time travel around doing some gigs. That would be interesting. I mean, I'm not a great traveller. You know, I'm a bit old and crappy these days with bad knees and a bad back. But I do. I mean, I'm really admiring what Steve Davis is doing with his with the Utopia Strong and stuff like that. I think it's amazing he's getting out there doing those gigs. I just think it's fabulous, and I would love an opportunity to do something like that. You know, I mean, of course, personally, in order to have a gig, I have to create an entire event just to give myself a gig because I can't get booked anywhere. But yeah, I would like to do that for a season. It's like, you know, part of the, I mean, I have been trying quite hard the last sort of 4 or 5 months to try to increase the revenue through affiliate links, doing that properly. I've tried doing written versions of the Molten Monthlies and things like that, and those sorts of reviews to see whether that's useful to people, see whether that picks up more affiliate links. You know, trying different angles and different ways to try to raise a few more funds so that I could at some point devote a lot more time to making music, just to see what that would be like. Could I spend a month, for instance, and come up with an album? Would that be interesting? Could I then tour that album, or whatever that means these days? Interesting. Maybe I'd like the opportunity to try. You know, but at the moment my focus is finishing off a few things I've got to do. Deckard's Dream, Synth East, a couple of other DIY bits and pieces, and obviously my day-to-day writing. Those are the things I need to focus on. Sorry, just skipping through a little bit. Potted plant will just get in the way. I had some nice comments because, I mean, my desk is not set up. You know, I don't sit around thinking, oh, how am I going to do this? You know, I've got this lovely module here, which is a great distortion module sitting there. This one is on its side. Got a whole bunch of cables knocking around here. This is cables that have also got modules kind of accidentally thread in them with other cables. That's just how it is. I haven't set it up. My main modular rig is on the floor because I don't have room to put it anywhere at the minute. So I did this sort of video of a demo. Someone commented, oh, it's great to see someone with an untidy desk. It's like, well, that's my vibe. You know, I think I put a pot plant in one of my videos once, which I thought was hilarious. I mean, I have thought of doing some more in the house where there's actually, you know, nicer stuff around the place. But it's got to move all your lights, got to move your cameras, you know. Just got to get on with it. Last thing I need is more things which are going to get in the way of actually doing the video. Do you know what I mean? Less reviews, more Deckard's Dream. So, it's coming up to 10 o'clock. Right, let me try to get through it, see if there's any other things. Will there be a market for second-hand motion meters? I don't know. No, because everyone's going to be wanting to use theirs. Oh, Ken. All my modules will be covered in Cheetos on return. Yeah, and smelling of cigarette smoke. Yeah, well, I'd have to get into some kind of regime of squirting everything as soon as it comes back. Yeah, community modular system. Yeah, it is a nice idea. It's just the logistics. If we can make it simple enough and people just don't steal them, ultimately, if it can be simple, if it can be cheap, talk about synth library here, cheap enough, not lose me any money. Obviously, it's going to cost me time. I mean, I did originally think that I would have like a pop-up shop, a pop-up library in Norwich. So I'd like take a van or something, have it all set up in the back of a van. But then people have to come to Norwich to borrow the stuff, which is great and very secure. But it's just too much hassle. It'll take days and days of doing that. But it's a nice idea. So Eurorack via post, I think, is the best bet. Really is the best bet. If I can find like a nice little courier system that can track without costing the earth, you know, get the packaging small enough and yet neat enough, you know, I don't mind going to the post office a couple of days a month. That's all right. Did you get the hang of the little synths you had a while back, the Uno and the Craft 2? No, I never really got the hang of the Uno quite so much, or the Craft 2. No, they sit up on the shelf, looking sorry for themselves. You know, some things you get taken into and other things you don't. What qubit modules am I using in my rack? I love the Surface. That's always going. At the moment, I'm playing with Nautilus and Aurora, which is getting interesting. I mean, I think the Aurora's already been done for Sound and Sound by somebody else, so I think I'm doing the Nautilus for them, but not this month. I did the Vector Wave, so I will be definitely getting into this soon, and it's interesting. The Aurora's just weird, but both of them, yeah, interesting things. I also quite like the Data Blender. Don't like the blend, is it? Not blend. The sequencer one. I haven't got on with that at all. It's really strange. Just, I don't know. I can't figure it out. Cannot figure it out. Ah, well, soup for rare, soup for R, or soup for Uri. It doesn't matter. Less DX7 and more TG77 FS1R FM. Ooh, interesting. Getting deep with that now. 4 years ago. Oh, here we go. Molten Music Technology answered my very novice questions about building a shed studio. Very kindly replied, and 3 years later I got my shedio and applied his advice. Nice one. Nice. The Rare Itch Project. What a lovely comment. Oh, so you got an O and C. That's always a bad idea. Yeah. I think I've just gone for Synth Library. I think you'll find that I already own synthlibrary.co.uk. Because whenever I have a brainstorm, whenever I have a stunning idea, I usually end up buying the domain name. And then I end up paying Ionis like £10 a year for the rest of my life. I've got a lot of those. Oh, a lot of stuff on clock. Yeah, no, that definitely hits a nerve then. Do I have a good accountant? No, I've got a good bookkeeper who has been kind enough to sort of quietly do my books, ask me a couple of questions and then just file it for me. So she's great. I'm very happy about that. But we've not really got into talking deeply about how best to run businesses and that kind of thing. I just print a bunch of reports from my software. She looks at them and goes, what the heck is that? And I have to then redo some stuff, try to get everything to come to about zero, and off it goes. So, you know, and she charges me like 50 quid. So that works for me. I think there's more I could do. I mean, I would love to take on a business partner or something like that. I'm hoping one of my kids will grow up to be one, to sort of sort that side of thing out. Same with SEO and affiliate links, all that kind of thing. That would be, I'd love to farm that out, but well, by farming it out for it to be then done right and to make more than it costs to do that. Do you know what I mean? There is a super like button, Steve. I don't think it works on live streams, funnily enough. But people have been throwing money in, so that is that the same thing? But there's a super thanks button or a super like button. Is that different? Oh, I don't know. Yes, the Norwich event does absolutely have wheelchair access. In fact, there's this bloody ramp that goes all the way down the side of the hall, taking up a whole load of room just for your wheels. So yeah, no, it's fully wheelchair accessible. Not a problem, JS. So yes, yeah, Norwich Arts Centre, go and check with them. If you've got any questions about that kind of accessibility, you'll find loads of information over there, or they'll happily respond to your inquiry. But yes, absolutely, no problem. Is microgrids too small to use? Yes. You've got 3 PAMs? Crikey. But it has all this other stuff in it. Yeah, no, I've become aware of that. Oh, hey, 100 knock. Thanks, Christopher. That's awesome. I've no idea what 100 knock is, but that's excellent. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Twitch is unpopular because it's largely misunderstood. I agree. You believe that YouTube will turn into MySpace and Twitch will become the norm? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I think Twitch, yeah, because it's so overwhelmingly gamey, I think that's its biggest turn off. You're not quite sure where to go. Whereas YouTube has become extremely familiar. I think that's the thing. You know, I mean, I tried doing stuff on Twitch years ago. Thought it was a great idea, but then just ran out of motivation, really. It's weird, though, because it feels like you could just turn on your screen and play a game and 1 million people would watch you. It's very, very strange. But I haven't quite been pulled into Twitch yet. But, you know, I'm doing it, man. I'm giving it a go. You've got to be in it to win it, as it were. Norwegian kroners. Okay, cool. Batty says, surely the next hardware polysynth needs to commission Molten synths for their next amazing patch set. See, that's interesting. That fascinates me. People who do preset patches and sound banks for synths, you know, it never occurred to me that would be something that you could do to make money. You know, I find that amazing. You know, and I don't mean that in a, oh, that's really odd or stupid. I just am totally surprised by it. And that's great. And a lot of these guys who make these sound packs, they buy the synth and then make a sound pack for it. Either they do a sample set for it, or they then do presets for it and sell those, which is really interesting. They don't even get the synth for free in order to do that. They buy the synth, so there must be enough money in it to sort of pay it off. Do you know what I mean? I'm saying, do you know what I mean a lot? I must be either a bit drunk or getting a little bit leery. But fascinating. I am planning on doing some patches for the Tiger, because it's all, I can't tell you what it is, but I think that would be cool. Some patch sheets. I printed out some patch sheets. I'm going to do some of that if I have the time. Yeah, Matt, I kind of agree. I don't know what to do when I'm in Twitch. I don't know where to go. that is always a thing. But it's a bit like Mastodon, I suppose, at the moment, where because I'm not following enough people, I'm not signed up to enough thing, that I'm not seeing the sort of breadth and depth that I see with Twitter. Do you know what I mean? I almost said it again. Yeah, it's interesting. Twitch feels the same like that. Daughter of Voice, your videos have been immensely helpful. Great. Would Robin enjoy this as my design direction? Oh, that's really nice. Thanks. Use the kids. Yes. Oh, look, I've got to the bottom. I might have caught up. And JS, thank you so much. I almost went past that. That's very, very kind. Thank you. Look at that. 40 quid. 40 quid. That was worth coming out. Golden Shrimp Guild. Yeah, that sounds believable. Cool. Well, I think that's good. It's been a couple of hours. I think that's probably enough. I mean, I've talked pretty solidly, I would say. Haven't had any time to do anything, but that's all right. I'm kind of wiped out a little bit now, I think. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. What's that? What's that about? Yeah, no, Jamie Morden is exactly who I was thinking of. Yeah, yeah, but there's a few others as well, and it's amazing. It's yeah, it's totally amazing. It's great. It also fascinates me that people would buy them. It would just never occur to me to buy presets for a synth. Not again, not that there's anything bad in that. It's a great idea. It would just never entered my head as a thing that you would that one would do. You know, I've always it becomes a bit of a cliche with software synths, certainly. Well, with hardware as well, in that, you know, this new synth, brand new synth, comes with 500 presets, produced by the top producers in their field, and it's always that same list of top producers, and it becomes a bit of a thing when I'm writing. I know when I'm writing about these products for Gear News, and whatever, saying, oh yeah, look, presets from these top producers. They must spend their whole lives just making presets for stuff, but apparently that's really good and really important, and people really like it. So that's quite interesting, and it's amazing that that Jamie makes, you know, it's a source of income for him. I mean, you know what I'm like. I mean, I did 10 presets, 10 patch ideas on the MS-101 and just stuck it on the internet for free. See, what an idiot! What an idiot! So I'm going to do 10 patches on the Tiger, and I'll be giving them away for free in a video. Yeah, so I shouldn't be doing that. I should be selling an ebook. See, that was an idea I had the other day. Could I make patches on all of the synths that I've got and then put them together in a colourful ebook and sell that, like Loop Pop sells his ever expanding ebook of thoughts on synths and stuff? Maybe that would be a thing. Ooh, Daughter of Voice, thank you very much. That's much appreciated. So yeah, Andrew, thanks. Yeah, I need to sign off too, if you know what I mean. Bloom, there you go. Bloom, that's the one. Bloom is a lovely sequence if you don't crank everything full clockwise. Yeah, I mean, if I ever get the time, I will give it a deeper look, but it's not one that, whenever I've plugged it in and attempted to get something out of it, it's never been a happy time. And that, you know, there's some modules that you feel are worth the work, like the vector wave, and there are other modules that you're not quite sure whether it is or not. Making a pop-up book, brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant, Ken. Totally brilliant. Yeah, no, patches for Patreon. Yeah. I mean, you can support me on Patreon. Let me say that. Patreon, if you don't know, is just a website where you can essentially subscribe to someone that you like. So you can subscribe to me on there under my name, Robin Vincent, and you can give me £1 a month, £5 a month, £10 a month. You know, so if you think about it, it becomes an income. So you subscribe into my content essentially. Now, what many people do with their Patreon is they provide lots of exclusive content. I've not been able to do that very much. There's a little bit, there is some exclusive stuff there, but the reason I haven't been able to do very much of it is because I just don't have the time. If I had spare time to be doing good stuff for Patreon, that would be great, but I don't. I'm flat out already, which is kind of why I need the Patreon. Does that make sense? So I need the support because I'm flat out doing stuff. So doing extra stuff just seems counterintuitive somehow. But if eventually I do get to a better position that I am able to give patrons more cool stuff, then I most definitely will. I think a lot of that will come down to if I'm actually making music. Or if anybody has any bright ideas out there, I'm always happy to hear them, assuming that they're not going to take a whole load more time. And that's not that I don't appreciate what these people are doing, but essentially the idea in my head is that they're supporting the content that I'm making, not buying extra content. Yeah, but that's a good thing too, and I'm up for doing that at some point, I think. But the one thing it does afford is, it's a direct communication, direct line of communication, which I think is a good thing. Naked Modular, we're going the wrong way. OnlyFans, yeah. No, thank you. Well, that could be an AI version of me on OnlyFans. Yeah, Qubit. Yeah, it's interesting. Scratch and sniff. Right, let me finish my beer and then we'll clear off. So, Tuesday night, Pittsburgh Modular are releasing a new thing, or announcing their Tiger synth. I will have a video hopefully ready for that. I've got to shoot that tomorrow, edit it down, get that ready. Am I ready? I don't know that I am, but I'm going to give it a go. So that should be fun. So that's the next thing coming out. Then I've got some DIY to do. Need to do Decar's Dream, a couple of modules I really want to make. And then we're heading straight into Synth East, which is going to be great. I'm going to be doing a lot of practicing for that. So that's very, very exciting. And as I say, if you weren't able to get a ticket and you really, really want to go, just let me know. Drop me an email or a message some way, and I will put you on a list of if any tickets come back kind of thing. And we'll try our best to sort you out. Yeah. Oh, thanks ever so much. That's just been gorgeous. You've been so lovely this evening. I don't know quite what I've done to deserve the extra cash, but that's much appreciated. It's just awesome. It's just a brilliant thing to be able to do, and I really appreciate the time you've spent with me, the time that you give this channel. The support is just brilliant. I love it, and it's just a great thing. So thanks ever so much. And I will keep at it. Lots more goodies to come, I hope. So yeah, I'll go and turn on the goodbye thing, and in the meantime, you go make some tunes. And February, just thinking Molten Monthly. I'll try to do a live stream before Synth East, because it's the beginning of March. Do one at the end of February if I can. So in 4 weeks' time, and you'll probably see how grey and tired and anxious I am. That'll be fun. Okay, cool. I will see you soon. Thank you ever so much. I try to do it once a month, Nicholas. Sometimes more. Thanks very much. You also occasionally see me on Sonic Stay. Oh, I just had another thought before we go. I was talking to Paulie about Stock Aitken and Waterman, right? So we're thinking we're going to do a live stream all about the death of pop music. So look out for that the next week or two. Anyway, I was going. Bye.